Jon Stewart he had a show on Apple TV Plus called The Problem with Jon Stewart, and I'd call it the Daily Show light. You know, it's kind of like a version of the program where he didn't have to put in as much effort, which I appreciate. Like, the Daily Show would have been quite the grind back in the day, and producing a show like that, especially if you had to do it every single day is hard. So, I enjoyed it. He had he's always fun value to when he's doing his shtick and whatnot. But the thing why I wanted to sort of talk about it was that, and although it's kind of hush hush and we don't really know what caused the end of it because it's the old creative differences thing, but it would seem that that potentially he was going to go and talk about topics that Apple found too sensitive. Which is a bit unfortunate, really, because that kind of I can see it because, Apple quietly is very closely curating what goes on Apple TV Plus, probably more so than a whole bunch of other streamers. But it's a bit sad, really, that, they lured him out of retirement effectively to do this kind of political show, and then if they're worried about how it might come across in China, or because he might have critical views of certain technologies because, Apple's in there, like AI or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the classic towing the corporate line problem. And, well, there you go. There's a whole episode for him right there. The problem right there. Right there. So, and it's just like, it's unfortunate that that kind of censoring, in a sense, comes into play.
Yeah, look, it's ironic, isn't it? But it's not something that hasn't happened many times before, where a network or a platform will lure a specific personality, whether it's a journalist or just an influencer, to their platform with promises. This is going to be great. You'll have creative freedom. You can do what you like. I want hard-hitting journalism. And then, of course, once they get there, the tune changes, and this really, unfortunately, it really would be creative differences. Although I had to have a chuckle at this myself, because Apple's behaviour in effectively not wanting to talk about AI or Chinese situations, it just made me think of Steve Jobs by committee. Faceless people shutting stuff down. But without any expletives or like reality distortion nets. Just we don't talk about that at Apple. And if anyone has had dealings with Apple, which I have had in the past, that's the sort of language they use. But we don't talk about that at Apple, and that's it. End of story. So I can imagine, you'd pitch the content for the show, and that would just be the response. No discussion. We just don't talk about that at Apple.
Yeah, well, if anything, at least I guess it's good that Jon Stewart stuck to his guns then. If he said, well, all right, if I can't talk about this, then we're not doing it. See you later. So that was kind of good for him, I guess.
This is always the problem when salespeople get involved. So, who knows what exactly happened, but I would say that this is probably the tip of the iceberg. There's probably a whole lot of other interesting stuff that he wanted to do, but just made the people in the sales teams nervous.
Absolutely.